Good evening. Please remain standing and please stand for the National Anthem sung by our very own Stevens Ariana Neal. Oh, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's first gleaming, whose broad sweep and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched, once again and the rockets recalled, the bombs bursting in air, we've crossed through the night, let our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Please be seated. Thank you, Ariana. That was beautiful, as always. Good evening. Good evening. We're going to do this interactively. I'm Dr. Diane Lynch, and I'm the president of Stevens College. And on behalf of the faculty, the staff, and the administration, it's my extraordinary great pleasure to welcome you to our fall-winter graduate commencement for 2020. That deserves some applause. Here we are. More than most audiences, I think. I trust that you understand well the need for the protocols we put in place for this important occasion. We're socially distancing, you might have noticed, which means, graduates, that I will not be shaking your hand as you cross the stage today. First time, except for the one we had 45 minutes ago for the undergraduates. But it does not diminish in any way my enthusiasm, the importance of this occasion, and my pride that you are all about to become Stevens graduates. We're propping the doors open to increase airflow, and we're happy it's not raining. We're wiping down surfaces. We're not touching them as we proceed through the ceremony, and we're all wearing masks at all times. We are going to celebrate and honor, but we're going to do it safely. I'd like to thank those whose contributions to this event have made it possible and as spectacular as it's going to be. Our accomplished and dedicated faculty, including Professor Dr. Monica Murray of the School of Arts and Humanities, who is our faculty chair and is serving as our marshal. And Assistant Professor Michael Burke from our Performing Arts program, who has mentored and supported our extraordinary tech students who are up on the mezzanine and will make our AV work flawless today. I'd like to thank our remarkable and committed staff, including the entire commencement committee, and in particular, Lita Costono, who has been running around my office for 3 weeks, making sure everything was going to be okay. She's the executive assistant in the president's office, and she's in charge of the planning and logistics, which commencements take a lot of planning and logistics anyway. And then you layer it just like everything else with COVID, and it becomes uniquely complicated. Please join me in acknowledging these remarkable members of our community for their contributions. And now, please join me in welcoming Dr. Leslie Willey, Vice President for Academic Affairs, to the podium.
It is fitting that we honor our distinguished faculty today. The Stevens College faculty has an immense impact on the lives of students as professors, as mentors, as advisors, and as friends. Each of our faculty has made significant contributions to the college, to their profession, and to the thousands of students they have taught over the years. Would all of the faculty of Stevens College please stand and be recognized? One faculty member who embodies the dedication and character of the Stevens College faculty was selected this past spring by students to receive the 2020 Distinguished Teaching Award. I would like to especially recognize Jennifer Hemphill. Jennifer is an assistant professor and program chair of performing arts in acting and musical theater. Please join me in congratulating her. Another faculty member was recognized by the students for outstanding advising skills. The recipient of the 2020 Michael Bowling Distinguished Advising Award is Dr. Sean Klaus. Sean is an associate professor and program chair of education. Please join me in congratulating Sean. Finally, I would like to recognize the contributions of our academic leadership team. Dr. Julia Moffett, Dean of the School of Health Sciences, Dr. Nat Hardy, Dean of the School of Arts and Humanities, and Dr. Trish Parsons, Associate Vice President for Academic Affairs. These academic leaders provide vision, direction, and support to the faculty and students at Stevens. Would the members of the academic leadership team please stand and be recognized? It's my pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker this evening, Jim Cynic. Jim is a valued member of the Stevens College Board of Trustees, and we benefit greatly from his leadership and support. Jim has served since 2013 as president of Boone Hospital Center, but I feel the need to acknowledge that he is actually eagerly awaiting his retirement on December 4th, 2 weeks from today. During his 7 years, I agree. During his 7 years at Boone Hospital, Jim led the hospital to national recognition for quality and excellence, not 1 year, but every year. You can find an extensive summary of his many accomplishments in your program. Among those achievements, I do feel the need to specifically acknowledge Jim's leadership in developing a strong working partnership between Stevens College and Boone Medical Group Central, which provides healthcare services to our undergraduate students, and for his critical role in working with President Lynch and our team to establish the Boone-Stevens collaboration that produced our new Bachelor of Science in Nursing program. Please join me in welcoming Jim Cynic to the podium.
Thank you, Dr. Willey, and thank you, President Lynch. And I want to congratulate all the students who are here tonight as we celebrate your graduation from your graduate programs. This is going to be an exciting night for all of you. I remember back when I graduated from the University of Iowa in the Hospital and Healthcare Administration Master's Program. This is an event or an evening you'll never forget. I want to thank all the family members who have come tonight. I want to thank all of the Stevens College faculty and staff as well for attending tonight. This is a really special night, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to spend some of this time here tonight during this important event. Tonight we have 35 graduates. 29 of the graduates here have earned a Master of Physician Assistant Studies. One graduate has earned a Master's in Fine Arts in Television and Screenwriting, and 5 students have earned a Master's of Education in Counseling. You know, when I thought about what I was going to say tonight, I started thinking about, I've got 2 kids, my son Joe and my daughter Quincy, and I think they may actually be watching remotely now. But every time I would call them together and say, hey, Joe and Quincy, I've got something I want to talk to you about, the first response that they would give me when they gathered around would be, Dad, not another life lesson. And so I promise I won't talk about life lessons tonight, except for just a few. You can always work harder. Exercise is the best medicine. So all my physician assistant friends, I think you maybe agree with me, right? Live within your financial means and always fully fund your retirement programs. Remember that one. Don't put off until tomorrow what you can do today. And you can do anything you put your mind to if you can put your smartphone down long enough. Okay? But I digress. So here I am tonight really wanting to talk about the Stevens College mission statement. You know, when I'm over at Boone Hospital and we have new employees come in, I do about an hour, talk with them, and we spend a lot of time on our mission statement. Why do we exist? What are we trying to accomplish? And I'm sure if I asked every graduate here tonight, you would be able to recite the Stevens mission statement. Correct? Okay, well, I'm not going to test you. The mission statement at Stevens College is learn, grow, lead. Simple but bold. Okay? So I want to break that mission statement down into its three components. Learn. Think about all of the learning that you have had since the day you were born, right? You've gone through preschool, you've gone through elementary school, you've gone through high school, you finished your degree in undergraduate studies, and now you finished your master's program. All along the way, your entire life, you've been learning. And you came to Stevens, and you've been challenged by our excellent professors here to stretch and to learn, in particular, in the discipline that you want to call your profession. Years and years of training, years and years of assignments, of projects, of tests, of challenges, in an environment that is conducive to learning. You know, the professors here at Stevens College have been teaching students since 1833. Not these specific professors, but professors who preceded them. So you think about very intelligent, sharp students, very incredibly smart and experienced professors and staff, and an environment of learning. I think we have learned a lot through our studies, and I want to congratulate you for actually achieving all of the requirements you needed to fulfill your master's degree. So I think we can check off the first component of our mission statement, learn. The second is grow. So think about, again, all the way through your entire life, how you've grown. And think about in your master's program in particular, because I think a master's program, you know, aside from a undergraduate program, I think it's different. I think it's more focused. I think it's more disciplined. I think it's more regimented. You've decided what you want to do. You decided what your career is going to be, and you've gone after it. And in that environment, there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of challenges. Again, more tests, more assignments, more projects, and you succeeded. And I think through that process, you grow mentally, you grow socially, emotionally, your maturity level grows. And I also believe physically you grow. And I'm not talking about the pounds that you typically gain while you're in college. I'm talking about the physical growth in strength and resilience. So you think about, how did you accomplish these first two components of our mission statement here? Learn and grow. I think you could probably list those things. I'll just give you a few that I think you'll agree with. Hard work and dedication. Anybody work hard, dedicated to your classes, everything you had to do to achieve this master's program that you're receiving tonight? Studying, assignments, hitting the library, sacrifice. Think about all the times you would have rather been hanging out with friends or family, but you had to hit the library because you had a test coming up or you had assignments due, right? You overcame challenges and you became resilient. Anybody ever have a tough test result that they weren't quite sure they were going to get past? So when I was in my master's program at Iowa in hospital administration, we had a very brief moment where the second year students had an opportunity to talk with the first year students. And it was before we actually finalize all the classes we were going to take as first-year students the first semester. And all of these second-year students said, hey, take this class called epidemiology. It's over in the medical building. And all you do is go to class, you watch a movie, you get an automatic A. So we're all in. The entire class took epidemiology. We didn't even know what it was, but we'll take it, all right? So we all go to that class. We're all in jeans and sweatshirts. And everybody sitting around us, probably another 50 to 70 students, all had on white lab coats. And the professor walked in, and she looked nothing like the second-year students described as the professor. New professor. And she looks right at us, hospital administration, first-year students, and says, hey, something you need to know. I know and understand that historically this has been a class where a lot of you, she almost said this was disdain. A lot of you hospital administration people come over here wanting to watch a movie and get an easy A. It's not going to be like that this semester. And that was the first test I had in graduate school. And when I got that test result, I started looking for a job because I didn't think I was going to make it through graduate school. But I had to overcome that challenge. And I had to figure out a way to get a decent grade in that course and pass all my other courses to ultimately get my master's degree. So you got to overcome challenges. You got to become resilient. Courage. I've had the opportunity to actually watch and observe grand rounds. Who's all done grand rounds in here? All the physician assistant students, right? So grand rounds are not easy. I mean, you got to stand in front of people. You're on stage. You got to be able to diagnose this patient, right? You got to talk about clinically what you're going to do for this patient. And you're kind of under the spotlight. That takes a lot of courage to do that. If you ever role played, you got to be courageous to do that and to do it successfully. Giving speeches, giving presentations, writing a full-length screenplay. That's not easy. You got to be courageous to be able to do that. And finally, perseverance. You've persevered class after class, test after test, semester after semester to achieve your graduate degree. This brings me to the third component of our mission statement, to lead. Stevens College has provided, and you have earned, the opportunity for learning and growth. You are now in a position to lead in your prospective field and in your communities. It is your time to lead. You have an advanced degree, which I consider to be kind of a doorway to employment. But what else do you need to continue to be professionally and personally successful? I believe it is leadership. And to be a leader, you'll have to rely on some of the hallmarks that we talked about already. But in particular, I want to focus on courage, persistence, resilience, and humility. So an example, one of our graduates tonight has achieved a master's in fine arts in television and screenwriting. Whitney Gray. Is Whitney here? Hey, Whitney, how you doing? She's like, I'm sitting in the front row and he knows my name. There couldn't be anything worse than that. But let me tell you something about this program that Whitney successfully completed. Its mission is bringing more female writers into mainstream Hollywood and studying film with a female gaze. And did you know that only 30 to 35% of all writers, directors, producers, editors in Hollywood in 2019 were female? So Whitney, it's going to require courage, right, to continue blazing the trail for women in what historically has been and continues to be a male-dominated field. It's going to require persistence and resilience as well. Example, Stephen King. Anyone know who Stephen King is? All right. His first book, the iconic thriller Carrie, received 30 rejections, right? In fact, Stephen King was so frustrated, he threw the manuscript in the trash. Later, his wife fishes out the manuscript and convinces him to submit it again. And then the rest is history, with King now having hundreds of books published with the distinction of being one of the best-selling authors of all time. Walt Disney. our very own son from Marceline, Missouri. Anybody ever been to the Marceline, Missouri Disney location and museum? If you haven't gone, you should go. It's well worth the trip. Even though Disney is a multi-billion-dollar brand today with theme parks and events all over the world, it didn't start like that. Walt Disney, the founder of the company, was fired by a newspaper that he worked for because the editor said he lacked imagination and he lacked ideas. Can you imagine that? Walt Disney getting fired for not having an imagination. To make matters worse, he started a number of businesses after that. They all failed. And his first animation studio, which is what he was really interested in, was dissolved. He couldn't even pay his rent. However, he never gave up. Despite his circumstances, he kept trying and finally achieved what he desired. Now, tonight, we also have 5 of our graduates who have achieved a Master's of Education in Counseling. This program provides the next level of expertise in clinical, mental health counseling, or school counseling. And 29 of our graduates have achieved the Master's of Physician Assistant Studies, enabling these graduates to provide primary care to patients within their practice. These 34 graduates have the physical, psychological, emotional, health, and welfare of their clients and patients literally within their professional hands. How did you achieve the goals so far? How did you achieve the first 2 components of the Stevens mission statement? Hard work, dedication, right? Knowing, the assignments that you had to complete, understanding the subject matters enough to be able to adequately pass the test. And what are you going to need to go forward in these careers, whether it's counseling or whether it's physician assistant career in terms of hard work and dedication? Well, every day it seems like new practices come out, clinical protocols, new and updated ways to counsel, be successful at it. You're going to have to keep those in mind. You're going to have to keep up with the literature. You're going to have to keep up with your profession. Sacrifice, again, clients and patients don't always just need your help between Monday and Friday, 8 o'clock a.m. to 5 o'clock p.m., right? You're going to have to sacrifice some time on behalf of your patients and your clients. Empathy, understanding and sharing the feelings of your clients and your patients. Teamwork. Think about the family members, teachers, parents, other caregivers, other support team members that make up the team that will help you be successful. At Boone Hospital, we measure, in every hospital across the country, we measure patient satisfaction on an ongoing basis. And as long as I can remember, really one of the key drivers of patients deciding that we provided excellent care was whether or not they perceived our caregivers as working in concert as a team. If they didn't see teamwork or they didn't perceive teamwork, we never got an excellent score. It was always something lower than that. Ethics, you're going to have a strong ethical and moral code. You're going to have to respect all the rules and regulations, and there are a lot of them. Courage, the ability to stay calm, instill confidence, and provide excellent care or counseling in the midst of a stressful situation, like a pandemic, right? Ask yourself these questions when you get into those situations as a leader. Am I inspiring or am I uninspiring? Am I calm and courageous, or am I facilitating chaos during a stressful time? Okay. Let me tell you a little bit about a story written by Michael Roger. It goes like this. There is a legend that is told of a French monastery known throughout Europe for the exceptional leadership of a man known simply as Brother Leo. Several monks took a pilgrimage to visit the extraordinary leader to learn from him. Starting out on the pilgrimage, they almost immediately began to argue over who would do certain chores. On the 3rd day of the journey, they met another monk also going to the monastery. He joined them. This monk never bickered about doing chores and did them dutifully. And when the others would fight about which chores to do, he would simply volunteer and do those chores himself. On the last day of their journey, others began to pitch in, follow his example, and the bickering stopped. When the monks reached the monastery, they asked to see Brother Leo. The man who greeted them laughed. But our brother is among you, and he pointed to the monk that had joined them along the journey. Humility, stay humble or become humble. Prevent having a high view of one's own importance. I recall when I was growing up, and whether it was something to do with sports or education or my profession, I never had a problem with humility, because anytime I started bragging about myself or I got a little bit cocky, my dad would always use this poetic quote, and he would say, "Jim, you know what dogs do to big wheels?" You can laugh at that. In healthcare and in counseling, I have personally observed and witnessed where people have failed professionally, not because of their skills or their skill set, but because of their arrogance and narcissism. Many people seek positions in leadership to serve their own interest and not the interest of others. There are many self-serving reasons why a person may want to lead, such as power, status, networking, money. But the best leaders lead because they care about people. And those are the types of leaders that lead like Brother Leo. They teach through their actions, not by their words alone. They are servants, not commanders. Stevens College has given you the gift and tools of learning and growth, and now you have the opportunity to lead. So as this semester comes to an end, and my understanding is there might be some assignments and maybe some tests between now and the end of the semester. And when I put this robe on, President Lynch said, "Hey, you look like a judge." So I thought I'd make a ruling. From here on out, no more assignments, no more tests. You guys are all golden. Did that work? No. I got overruled. A higher court overruled me. But whether you take this opportunity, it's up to you. What I want to tell you as you're approaching graduation is to go after the life you want. And does that sound familiar to anybody? Because it should, because it is a Stevens College motto. Go after the life you want. Be courageous, stand up for what is right. Speak on behalf of others, in particular, those that are most vulnerable. Do not fear difficult times. Remember the words of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Persevere in spite of difficulty or opposition. Be firm in your belief in yourself and your goals. Like Disney, never give up. Be resilient. Tough it out. You will stumble. You will fail, encounter significant challenges. You will have to recover quickly. You will have to overcome setbacks. Ask yourself the question, how much do I want this? And have humility, okay? Have humility. Be humble, be modest, take responsibility for your actions, be grateful for what you have, and lead like Brother Leo. Learn, grow, and lead. It is your time to be a great leader. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jim. Our graduate representative this evening is receiving a Master of Physician Assistant Studies degree. Kristen Fisher is a student in the third graduating class of the Master of Physician Assistant program. Prior to her graduate education, Kristen held positions as an ophthalmic technician, a laboratory technician, and an ultrasound and surgical technician. During her time at Stevens, Kristen served as treasurer of her PA class and was a member of the Joyce Nichols Society, a leadership organization for physician assistant students. She was chosen by the program faculty as one of 2 students from her class to receive the first Stevens College Physician Assistant Service Award for her dedication to the program and efforts in pursuing volunteer opportunities. The Veterans Health Administration, through a highly competitive nationwide process, selected Kristen to receive a health professional scholarship for physician assistants, through which she will serve for 2 years as a physician assistant in a VA facility. Before I invite Kristen to the stage, I would ask that her family please stand and be recognized. Kristen, it's my honor to welcome you to the stage.
Thank you for the introduction. Let me start by saying how honored I am to have the opportunity to speak to you today and to represent the Stevens College Physician Assistant Class of 2020. My entire graduate education has been an extremely humbling process, and addressing you today is no exception. Comparable to the rest of my time in PA school, trying to come up with what to say to you today has been nothing short of challenging. It has, however, been a great motivator for studying. I can always come up with a dozen things I need to do when I should be studying, but knowing I had to write this speech sure made studying look like a downright enjoyable alternative. Don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled to be up here today, but let's be honest. For all of us graduating today, this is at least our third graduation. Some of you may have more graduations in the future, but for others, including myself, this is likely to be our last. I could stand up here and reiterate all the same things that you've heard before, that the hard work is just beginning, to follow your passion, don't forget where you come from, pay it forward, and my personal favorite graduation cliche, we made it. But this is 2020, and it goes without saying that this year has been predictably unpredictable. In a time defined by a deadly global pandemic, civic unrest, systemic injustice, and a former reality TV show president, this year has been nothing short of unusual. And in keeping with that motif, my intent today is to deliver an unexpected yet purposeful message. At such a critical transition point in our lives, reflecting on the past is usually easier than looking to the future. And consequently, I've spent the last several weeks reflecting on my time at Stevens College. While there are undoubtedly thousands of memories and moments that stand out, I keep going back to the day of my interview. As I'm sure you can all relate, I spent hours preparing for that day, looking up the most commonly asked questions, writing and then rewriting an outline of my responses, and then reciting them in my head during my commute to work during the weeks prior. I even read some of them aloud to family members to try to elicit feedback. I had my first interview of the day with Dr. Oliver and Ms. Dixon, and it was going really well. They asked the questions I knew were coming. I answered them with all the conviction I could muster despite my nervousness. I'm sure you know what's coming next. Well, I sure didn't at the time. They hit me with a question that all the PA forums and Reddit posts had failed to mention. And I think what jarred me the most was not my lack of preparedness, but the relevance paired with the simplicity of the inquiry. It was just 3 words. What motivates you? What followed was a split second of absolute panic. But the latter half of that second was defined by clarity and relief. I took a deep breath, and sacrificing originality for honesty, I said, you know, that's a great question. More panic. Although I knew the answer, I'd never heard the question phrased in such a plain and unadulterated way. And I think that's what really caught me off guard. What's most important to you? Why do you want to be a physician assistant? What keeps you going when times get tough? How did you overcome some of your biggest challenges? What's your purpose in life? All of these questions are really getting at the same thing. Motivation is the thread that connects everything we do and feel. It makes the impossible attainable and gives meaning to those most seemingly insignificant actions. We're all propelled by a myriad of motivators, but it all boils down to this for me. At the risk of going against my word and sounding too conventional, I'm motivated by my family, my friends, my classmates, my pets, and my community. Nearly every major decision I make is guided by what will result in their best interest, make them proud, and position myself to better care for them. Now, it's not lost on me that my connection with my family may be stronger than most, but I'd allege that the sentiment is the same for everyone in this room. We're all motivated by others, whether they're related to us or in our lives by choice. Without a doubt, I would not be graduating today without my loved ones. Beyond simply encouraging me to pursue my goals and cheering me on along the way, they've been a steady source of advice, laughter, honesty, love, and you guessed it, motivation. How unfortunate then that many of the people that mean the most to me, to us all, the people that motivated us during one of the most challenging times of our lives, are not here in person to help us celebrate one of our biggest achievements. Which is why I want to take the rest of my brief time to directly address and thank all of you at home and here with us today who have supported and motivated myself and my classmates during our graduate education and beyond. I reached out to my fellow graduates for their help with this speech and compiled a list of ways in which you have demonstrated your unceasing support for us during our time at Stevens, and it's nothing short of amazing. While I truly desire to have the time to thank each of you individually and by name, my hope is that this incomprehensive list of simple acts will elicit a personal recognition in each of you and generate awareness about the incredible ways in which you motivate us every day. The following are messages from my classmates to you. On behalf of myself and my classmates, thank you for sending care packages, cookies, and cards to let us know you cared. For finishing all our laundry before a long commute back to school when we felt like we literally didn't have enough hours in the day to sleep. For always providing us a place to stay for our rotation. For the words of affirmation, including a simple, "I'm so proud of you," a pre-test good luck, and "I'm praying for you." For picking up Taco Bell and cooking dinner, especially potato tacos, for us on numerous occasions while we studied with our classmates. For the countless day-to-day sacrifices you had to make in your own career in order to help us achieve ours. For being the primary cat parent when it comes to changing the cat litter. For making a special trip just to give us a mom hug. For always being willing to be our practice patients. That one's huge. For supporting and loving us when we miss birthdays, weddings, and holidays because of our school commitments. For making us pancakes in the middle of the night before our first clinical skills final. For having unending patience when our schedules changed literally every 6 weeks. For inviting us to weekly family dinners to help us decompress and get our minds off school for an evening. And for delivering those dinners when COVID hit. For supporting us when we decided to move halfway across the country to pursue our goals. For attending our grand rounds presentations, even if it did make us more nervous. For the support from our spouses and children when we would sometimes go weeks without seeing them. For enduring the long evenings of us and our classmates studying way too loudly. And yes, believe it or not, studying can be loud. And finally, for flying from many states away to visit when we needed encouragement most. You motivate us every day in more ways than I can list, and we cannot thank you enough for always being there for us. So can we just give a round of applause to all the people that have helped us get where we are? I also want to take a brief minute to recognize my fellow classmates for all the ways we bolstered each other during one of the most challenging times of our lives. The following are just a few examples provided by my classmates of how we supported each other during this time. From one classmate to another, thank you for sharing study materials you created with the rest of the class, for driving me to and from class and the airport, for getting sushi with me after every pharmacology exam, for attending a 3-hour hair appointment with me the day before a physiology test just so we could keep studying together, for chipping in for Gumby's massive Mondays to keep our dying spirits alive while we studied, for helping me come up with mnemonics like Tricky Monkey for Trichomonas, and teaching me all about interior design, for spending nights and weekends shoved in crowded corners of Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts quizzing each other, for every now and then running to Target for some retail therapy with me, for bringing me tamales when I was sick, for writing me a card on my birthday and when my grandmother died, for helping to make my outlines aesthetically pleasing and my physical exam more systematic, for being an awesome rotation partner. It was so helpful to have each other to lean on and tread the unknown together. For staying late to explain the nuances of acid-base disorders and molecular concepts. For being awesome roommates and answering my questions at any time of the day or night. For letting me cry over my own problems during the middle of your birthday celebration and not making me feel bad about it. For showing me a fantastic time in your hometown and welcoming me into your family's home during winter break. For the continual stream of memes and comedic relief that our group text provided me. It's truly been a beacon of positivity in my life. For planning our friendship weeks before we actually met, I've never been more thankful for such a calculated act and a type A friend. And finally, for helping me write this speech. I'm so humbled and grateful to close this chapter of my life with more than just an outstanding education, a graduate degree, and a few more gray hairs. I've gained some incredible lifelong friends and connections. You all have motivated me every day for the last 27 months, and I'm so excited to see all of the wonderful things you will do. Just don't forget, even in your moments of greatest success, to pause and take stock of what, and most importantly, who motivates you. To repurpose and revise a quote from Vice President-elect Kamala Harris in the groundbreaking speech she delivered 2 weeks ago, we stand on their shoulders. Congratulations to the class of 2020, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristen. Congratulations. Now, for the moment that we're all here for. As Vice President for Academic Affairs, it's my pleasure to present today's candidates for degrees. Will the candidate for the Master of Fine Arts in Television and Screenwriting please stand and be recognized? Will the candidates for Master of Education please stand and be recognized? Will the candidates for Master of Physician Assistant Studies please stand and be recognized? Assistant Professor John Hemphill will announce each candidate who crosses the stage to receive a diploma. Graduates with blue and white cords signify membership in the Pinnacle Honor Society, the honor society for non-traditional students. Before Assistant Professor Hemphill begins, I ask that all candidates for degrees stand so that President Lynch may confer your individual degrees. President Lynch, on behalf of the faculty, I present these candidates for conferring of degrees.
Okay. I get that this might be your third one, but here's a little secret. Everyone matters. This is a moment. I'm a big believer in ritual. Ritual is that moment where we become something different. Almost always better. We become something more and larger, perhaps. More thoughtful, more empathetic, better leaders from one moment to the next. Because we have achieved something that changes us forever. That's where you are right this minute. And I understand these ceremonies are full of advice, and truisms, and yes, cliches. But they're also heartfelt, as you can tell from your classmates' comments. I ask that you stop for a minute, just for a minute, and be present in this moment. We rush to this moment. I have a feeling you've been rushing. And here you are. I want you to just stop for a moment and think about how you got here. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's journey is different. Everybody's travels are different. But all those nights, all that anxiety and all that family and all of that. And here you are. And I know you still have exams. I know it's not over, but close. For all intents and purposes, you are where you have always hoped and dreamed you would be, here in this moment. Just want you to savor it. Okay, thank you. By the authority of the state of Missouri, given to the trustees of Stevens College and entrusted to me by them, I hereby award to you, upon recommendation of the faculty, the degrees that you will have earned during the course of your studies at Stevens College, with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining, in token whereof you shall be given diplomas. Graduates, You may now move your tassel from right to left. Congratulations. I'm not going to say you did it, but you did. Please join me in congratulating the graduate class of 2020. So will you please be seated, and we'll receive some instructions about how to come to the stage. Thank you.
Whitney Gray, Master of Fine Arts in Television and Screenwriting. Angelica Danielle Earhart, Master of Education in Counseling. Laura Marie Pinkstaff, Master of Education in Counseling. Gus Murray Saxon, Master of Education in Counseling. Tosca Marie Tolson, Master of Education in Counseling. Kristen Amanda Fisher, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Allison Ann Baumover, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Catherine Marie Bollinger, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Aaron Matthew Cervantes, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Elizabeth Carey Collum, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Ashley L. Doherty, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Miles McDonald Edwards, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Brooklyn Elizabeth Fogel, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Lindsay Brooks Graham, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Taeuk Kang, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Alicia Beth Jones, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Shelby Sonia Johnson, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Landon William House, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Joshua Herman, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Linnea Jean Heimsoth, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Lindsay Ann Harris, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Chelsea Gordon Yates, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Samantha Lee Surrett, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Tyler Lee Sanders, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Elizabeth Whitney Raphael, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Carla Maria Navarro Vega, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Corey Dominic McGowan, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Marjorie Page Mantle, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies. Brenda Janelle Lugo, Master of Science in Physician Assistant Studies.
Please join me in congratulating graduate class fall winter 2020. Congratulations. You know, it's a little bit hard to see the facial expressions behind the masks, but a whole bunch of you were just like grinning, you know, as much as you possibly could. It's joyful and triumphant and well-earned. So one of the great gifts, and there are many, of being the president at Stevens College is that I get to have the last word. Always get it if you can. Called the charge. And I charged the graduates. Literally one year, one of our students thought I was going to talk to him about charges, like money. I was like, no. You're all good. It's okay. This is about what I hope and aspire for you as Stevens grads. Today, you join the 13%. It's up from 8% in 2000, 13% of Americans who hold graduate degrees. Today, you are participating in a rite of passage that will lead you to a world of broader horizons and, yes, financial gain. Recent research suggests that Americans with advanced degrees not only earn more, they vote more, are healthier, and have higher levels of social trust. That also means they tend to live longer, happier lives. They have greater impact on their communities. And not surprising, they have more reason to believe that the world in which they live is a safe, benevolent, and just place. I know you know, here you are, and with privilege comes responsibility. This is a graduation speech. Today, this nation needs you to take that responsibility more seriously, perhaps, than ever before. At a time when our civil discourse is anything but civil, when our nation is struggling against a rising tide of anger and polarization, I challenge you, Stevens grads, to listen openly, to think critically, and to speak with integrity. As we confront a world in which the divide between the rich and the poor has never been wider, ever. I challenge you to stop and look, really look at the world around you. And I implore you, not charge you, implore you. You who have the talent and the energy and education and the drive and all the things Jim talked about, and the opportunity to dream of and achieve anything you choose. I ask that you do what you can do to make the world a better, more just, more equitable place. And I'm not talking philosophically or rhetorically. I'm talking about on the ground. You have so much time now. In whatever communities, Columbia, LA, Dallas, Chicago, doesn't matter. In whatever communities of which you are part. So that is my hope for you and my charge to you today. Be the leaders your education has prepared you to be. Just as Jim talked about, learn, grow, and lead. This very special, important moment in our culture, in our communities, and in your opportunity to start now to generate the kinds of difference you know you are capable of making. Choose to live your lives in the service of the greater good. I know. Make your life's work your life's passion because it changes the lives for the better of those around you. Contribute every single day in ways large and small. In every way you can, every moment, in every conversation. And model for those around you. In every story you tell, in every sprint, every marathon, and in every conversation you hold. Our promise to our children and to their children, that we are a civil society, a community rich in compassion and generous in spirit, and that we are truly one nation under whatever God each of us happens to honor, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You are brilliantly positioned to remind the world of that every moment, not just by what you say or what you do, but by what you believe. My thanks to you for being part of the Stevens family. Once family, always family. And my sincere congratulations to you all. Thank you. In conclusion, Ariane and Neil will lead us in singing the Stevens hymn. One of the things that you don't know about being a Stevens alum grad is that you have to sing the Stevens hymn. It's in the back of your program. You don't know the words. I know I can't see your mouth, whether it's moving, but I can tell. So please stand, join us in singing the Stevens hymn. And I think we're going to ask that the visitors, parents, family members, please stay seated until the graduates have left the ballroom. Thank you all so much for being here. It's been an honor and a privilege.